So there's a new trend that is sort of replacing the layoff trend. It's called retitling. Businesses are no longer downsizing, they are downgrading some elements of their workforce. They still need data professionals, but they don't need the same team composition. So they're doing something called retitling to downgrade some members of the team. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is how to avoid that. I'll explain what retitling is. I'll talk about why companies are retitling data professionals and how it happens, what's the process. And then finally, I'm going to talk about what capabilities are the most critical to avoid falling into this down title, retitle trend. So you're avoiding the new type of layoffs. What does it mean to be retitled? What is this thing? Well, layoffs are slowing down in December. You'll see them pick back up in January and February, but it'll be nowhere near as fast as they've been in the past over this last year. So what does that mean for data professionals? First things first, anyone who's calling this a disaster is crazy. They're wrong. Demand for data professionals is strong. Yes, we're having a recession, but no, we're not having some sort of catastrophic event. So just push that to the side of your mind. Don't worry about that side of this. Businesses, like I said, they're not downsizing. What they've done is downgrade. They're beginning to downgrade people's title. So what retitling is companies, instead of doing layoffs that are across the board, they're cycling out low producers and people who aren't truly qualified to do the job that they're in, the data scientist title, which obviously carries the top end of compensation. So they're retitling individuals to put them into different roles. I think this is called quiet firing. I think it's just cowardly. I think a business should step up. If they hired somebody incorrectly, they should pay for it. If you're going to lay someone off, lay them off. Give them that severance package. Give them assistance in finding a new role. Don't try to push them into something else and really impact their career in a negative way. So let's talk about next. How does this work? So you already know companies are laying off sort of that bottom performing, anywhere between 5% and 10%. Some are actually doing a little less than 5%. It's just based on performance. Those people that they overhired who didn't work out as employees within the company for whatever reason are going first. What's going to come now is this sort of, like I said, a quiet layoff, quiet firing, where your role or a role will be eliminated and you'll be asked to apply for another job opening. There's tons of openings all over the place. Your role's being eliminated, but hey, we have all of these other open jobs. Go ahead and apply for one of those. You have 60 to 90 days to find a new role. You're thinking, great, no problem. I'm just going to apply for another data scientist position in another team. But when you go to apply, you find the job requirements have changed for the role that you were hired into. This is especially true for people that were hired in the last 12 to 18 months. You may no longer qualify for the same job title. So instead of being able to interview for another data scientist role in another team, you're only qualified for roles that are at a different level. In some companies, there are some ways of doing retitling that make sense, that aren't shady like the approach that I just told you about. For some companies, they've used data scientist as a generic term. And so data engineers, machine learning engineers, ML ops engineers all got slapped under the data science title. And it makes sense to just separate it out and call people what they actually do. I think that version of retitling is absolutely valid. People maintain their current level of compensation and they are appropriately titled, which is good for their career. So I'm not talking about that type of retitling where you are just making the roles make sense. What I'm talking about is the shady version, this quiet firing, where people are let go and not told, hey, you're being let go. They're given these options. And really what they're being told is, if you want to take a pay cut, we'll keep you. If you want to take a level down, we'll keep you. Otherwise, it's time for you to go. That's the version I'm talking about, and I think it's absolutely shady. So let me explain why companies are doing it, even though, like I said, I'm not endorsing or saying this is the right way to go at all. Companies are doing this to get around some of the expense and reporting requirements of doing a more formal layoff. They're also trying to reduce total compensation costs. A lot of companies made the mistake over the last year to year and a half of hiring people and offering extremely top end salaries and compensation packages. They now regret that because the market hasn't cooled too much, but that top end at the crazy height of demand has definitely come down a bit. Those top end salaries have dropped, and they want to push people out of those top end and into more reasonable salary bands. And that's how they're looking at saving compensation costs. They're dropping people from the data scientist role with that top end compensation into other job titles with lower salary ranges. They're right sizing teams based on the fact that they have changing business needs. Their work, they were thinking innovation forward in straight into AI, but that has, because of the downturn, pulled back. They're not doing as many innovation initiatives, and they need to be doing work that returns value faster. That means more work with things like data cleansing, basic analysis, data visualization, reporting, a lot of business-facing work or almost support type work, stakeholder management, fielding ad hoc requests. What they're doing in some cases is building sort of this data support desk or data ops team that supports external business units. Like I said, sort of that ad hoc request for data reporting, visualizations, help with PowerPoints and presentations, that sort of thing, but also to support data scientists to take some of those sort of drudgery tasks that data scientists hate off of their plate, the things that data scientists shouldn't be doing because they have sort of higher end duties and projects and activities to attend to. So the focus is on data analysts and data engineers. A lot of data scientists are being sort of dropped into those roles. Now, neither one is a bad role, but companies are compensating differently. And so you end up taking a pay cut, which, like I said, that's the side of this I think is shady. So data scientists are going to remain focused on the high-end projects, the innovation projects, and those really more high-end activities, but there are fewer of those types of initiatives, so the business doesn't need as many data scientists. And they're also creating these data ops and data support teams to take some of the work off of the plate of data scientists. So they need fewer of them for fewer innovation initiatives. This is why you're seeing this sort of quiet firing or retitling, because they simply don't need as many data scientists as they hired. In some companies, you see these layoffs happen in one quarter and then they're hiring the next quarter. Meta did that, where they did sort of some quiet firing and then all of a sudden they are now hiring again. They have 60 openings for data professionals, which is definitely down from the top, but you're seeing in many companies this quiet reorganizing and restructuring, taking people out of the top pay bands and putting them into either unemployment or putting them into a lower pay structure, lower paying role. And the generic data scientist is being split out into all of these other roles. And as long as you're keeping the compensation the same, I don't have a problem with it. But most companies that are doing retitling aren't. So let's talk next about what you can do about it. Protecting yourself from being retitled. Like I said at the very beginning, there's a buffer that we have right now before these next rounds of layoffs or quiet firing end up coming around. So we've got a couple of months that you can spend focusing on in-demand data science skills and capabilities, doing a little bit of learning and retraining over the next couple of months so that you do qualify. And just in case some of these capabilities have sort of degraded on you or they weren't your area of focus in the past, you'll be able to upskill a little bit fairly quickly and differentiate yourself. So if you do find yourself in one of these quiet firings, you will still qualify to apply for a different role and maintain your current title, current level. First, model quality and continuous improvement, moving from low reliability to higher reliability requirements, supporting type of models. Those skills, model quality and continuous improvement, are in high demand. I see them in many data science job descriptions. I'm even seeing, and this one's kind of a surprise, process improvement and implementing best practices. Getting familiar with everything from coding to model development best practices, even some infrastructure, hardware optimization. Companies are looking for data scientists who can sort of take this broken, not exactly functioning at its highest level team and implement standards, best practices, build out a managed process, workflow, lifecycle, really just doing the things that companies should have been doing to mature over the last 1 to 2 years where they've been growing out of control. So focusing on process, patterns, practices, that'll help you differentiate as well. Business and domain knowledge for the team or the product line that you support is a big deal. And that's something you can rapidly upskill on to become more knowledgeable about your particular team, or if you think you're going to have to transition into another team or support a different product line, now is a great time to start doing a little bit of learning around new domains, new niches, new types of product lines. Getting to know platforms, cloud, databases, automation platforms, and tools, all of those, very big. So look into your AWS or Azure, depending upon what your company uses. Any of the large hyperscaler platforms that your company leverages. Get to know the databases a little bit better than you probably do now. And look for any automation tools, even self-service tools that you can help implement, select, deploy. Those frontline automation is huge, but also workflow automation for data science. Everything from feature stores to even some MLOps components are very good to pick up and get a little bit of knowledge of. Experimentation is the big shift in focus. Moving away from canned models, descriptive analytics, low reliability use cases to being able to do statistical experiments, A/B tests, multivariate experiments and testing, and even more rigorous study design, moving towards an understanding of causal machine learning and causal methods. The stronger your research and study design background becomes over the next few months, the more likely it is that you will qualify if you have to end up switching roles. A couple of domains that are worth calling out: decision support and customer analytics. Very, very popular right now. So more than likely, if you're looking at building out decision support systems or an internal decision support platform for the business, you'll be in good shape. That's something almost every company is looking at doing. Companies also need to understand their customers better. So customer analytics, customer behavioral, those are all good domains to start studying into or improve your knowledge of. Communication and visualization, those are always just bread and butter. The better you are as a communicator, the more broadly you are going to fit into teams. And then finally, working with and influencing leadership. If you're good at working with leaders, especially at that VP and C level, again, you will always have a home because they're going to be the people saying, no, that person can't go. I like getting analytics from them. I like getting presentations from them. So even though some of those roles aren't your favorite parts of the job, those can be parts of the job that preserve your role. So the main takeaways from this: You have to look at what's happening with this trend of retitling, where some people are going to be pushed into lower end roles to save costs. Like I said, it's shady. Companies that are right sizing should do this the correct way. Just because you're moving away from a focus on innovation, you should be paying benefits and doing this well, but they're not. So expect this second wave to start hitting in January, February, and into March, extending all the way through next year, where people are essentially have their roles closed and they're told you can apply for these other internal roles. But when you go to do that, you find that you are no longer qualified to do those roles. So the important part to be focused on for the next couple of months, try to reskill if you need to. Focus on things like experimental design, study design, research, supporting higher end use cases. Look for different parts of the business and get the domain expertise necessary to support core business, core product lines, sort of supporting the traditional business and products. And you have some time now, so take it, use it wisely, and get yourself into a position where you can avoid really being retitled in the first place. But more than that, if you're part of that retitling effort, you'll still qualify to transition into the same level role in a different team. Now, if this has helped, please hit the like button. Think about sharing this with other people in your network. And if you want to get alerted to each time that I release a new video, go ahead and subscribe.